beautiful people, it's your girl here, Big Belly Beauty. So today's 3 looks 1 palette is going to be the Mauves. I keep wanting to call it Marvelous Mauves, but I think it's like a ColourPop thing. Anyways, this is Mauve palette by Profusion. It is a 10-pan mauve palette. The palette itself cost $5, which is insanely good. The swatches are in my Profusion haul a few days back. Now, this shade looks abused because I dropped it on the floor and part of it popped out. So that's not its fault, that's mine. But it did actually press together nicely again. So this one up here in the corner, it actually is pretty creamy. So it's smooshed together nicely at the end of it. But I'm really excited to get into this and just do an eye look. So for the rest of my face for today's look, I went quite natural just because I felt like doing more of natural glowy dewy looks. So I did a lot of skincare underneath. And then I didn't use any primer, but I used my foundation, the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation in the shade 3.5. My Milk Makeup Flex Concealer in the shade Light Medium. I just did that on some spot control as well as underneath my eyes just to brighten them a little bit. And then I used for my brows just this Art Deco eyebrow filler. It's got little fibers in it. It's kind of like a brow gel, a color and a filler all in one. It just leaves them really nice and natural looking without being too thick. So that's why this one. My blush, I used this Blush Serum Nourishing Water-Based Cheek and Lip Color, and I use this both on my cheeks and on my lips as a base. And then on my lips as well, I also layered on top the Burt's Bees Tinted Lip Balm in Red Dahlia, just because this made my lips look a little too dry. So I wanted to add some moisture back in as well as darken the color a little bit, just because this is quite a cool pale shade and it didn't quite look right on my face. Now to go with the dewiness of the overall face as well, I use this Too Faced Fancy Pink Diamond Highlighter that I got in a BoxyCharm. It just adds a really nice glow to the skin and kind of went with this pinky purple look that we're going to do today. And seeing as I was keeping it quite neutral, I didn't bother matching my outfit to it because it's just going to be a very neutral, romantic kind of look. For eye primer, I used my Ish Shadow Primer. This one's not tinted, it is clear. So it'll go on, it's already on my face, it's already had time to dry. Basically, that's all the products I've used so far. So not a lot today so far, but I'm excited to play with this mauve. Mauves? How do you actually pronounce that? Mauves? 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 Anyways, with this Mauves palette. Now it's gonna trip me up all day. Just to kind of do a nice natural-ish romantic look to go with this dress that I'm wearing today. We're going to start off with Lovely as an crease transition shade. So we're going to do that first. If you hear snoring, my dog is trying to sleep behind me. That is much more pigmented than I thought it was going to be, so be careful. Blend it out a little bit because I don't want it to be actually that dark. Gonna do the same thing on the other side. Okay, there we have our crease shade on. So now I'm going to take a shader brush and just pack some of a darker shade, the shade called Lovesick here, and up on the top, onto the outer corner. Just want to pack it in there. Take that fluffy brush and just blend out that edge there a little bit. And now actually I'm going to take the glittery shade Persona and just put it all over the lid. I think we're going to go in with my finger. I just said I wanted to do a neutral look. This is not exactly neutral. So the shade right here, Persona. We're just going to take that fluffy brush again and just kind of buff out the crease a little bit. I don't know if you can tell, but there is something weird going on right here. I don't know if that's just my skin or how I put on the primer, but there's this weird like line there that I don't know what to do with. We're just going to ignore it and pretend it doesn't exist. So don't think that's the shadow's fault. I have a feeling that's just my eyeballs right now, my eyelids right now. It's being weird. But that glittery shade went on really nice. It's really pretty. And now just for the inner corner and for brow, for the inner corner, I'm going to do this Femme. We're just going to try it on a brush to see if it works because it's quite a small space. It does look like it works with the brush too, so that's good. It does feel almost like I'm putting on a cream eyeshadow just because it's so soft and wet. Now for under the brow bone, we are going to go in and just put in some of the opal shade here, just as a brow bone highlight. Well, so much for this being super soft and neutral. That's okay. We are going to take this shader brush thing and just go underneath. Yeah, that dark color again, Lovesick, just on the outer edge. Just picking up a small amount with this brush. And then just to connect with the very bit of sparkle there, that's really close, I'm actually going to take the shade Lovely again, that really nice pink shade, and just connect it to that inner corner. Okay, and surprisingly, throughout all that, there was no fallout. So that's pretty impressive, actually. I know I said I was going to go for a neutral look. It did not end up neutral. Oh well. But I had so much fun playing with it, and this is what I ended up with. So let me just pop on some black eyeliner. I'm going to use the Burt's Bees Nourishing Eyeliner in soft black, some mascara, which is also Burt's Bees Nourishing Mascara in classic black, and I will be right back. Okay, that is it. I just used the eyeliner as almost like a tight line on the top just to give the lashes some more definition. And then when I was using the mascara, I'm realizing it's got a smell to it, so I am going to be getting rid of this after today, just simply because I think it might be getting expired. So we should move on to the next mascara that I have in my collection. But here's a close-up of the eye look. Like always, we will see how it wears throughout the day. I'll come back and give you my thoughts, and then tomorrow when I do my next look, I will let you know whether any of it stained my eyes, what happened with the shadows, if there was any major problems, reactions, that sort of thing when I take it off. So I will check back in with you later today. Okay, so it's actually pretty late at night. Well, not late, but it's like 9 or 10 p.m. So unfortunately there is no natural light to film this with, which is why the overhead lighting is so harsh right now, because I really didn't feel like setting up my studio lights just to show you this. But as you can see, it has pretty well perfectly stayed in place. Now that there is that little weird little notch there where it just did not grab onto the shadow, and it didn't from the very beginning. So I'm not quite sure what was going on there. Maybe this stuff really does stick well if you have a primer. That's not so great if you don't have a primer. So tomorrow we will try one without a primer to see if I can get the same color last and shade payoff that I did with the primer here. And maybe that notch is just because that's an area without primer, and this one just might need primer to work properly. But with the primer, it still looks gorgeous. It's blended a little bit more than it was before, so it's a little bit muddied, but it's still pretty perfect compared to how it was earlier. It's been like 6 or 7, maybe 8 hours since I put it on, so I'm pretty impressed. It still looks very romantic, and I like it. So we'll see you tomorrow with a knowledge of whether or not it's stained when I take off my makeup, and we'll try a look without primer tomorrow. See you then. So today is day 2 of the 3 Looks 1 palette with the Profusion Mauves palette. So I did my face again before we started because I felt like it. For primer, I used the Luminizer Primer by Dr. Brandt. I used the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear Foundation in the shade 445 as my foundation. Concealer, like always, I use the Milk Makeup Flex Concealer in light medium just to spot conceal and do under my eyes because the foundation is pretty heavy coverage. For blush, I used the Art Deco blusher in the shade 33A, Little Romance, very lightly on my cheeks. And for highlight, again, I used the Too Faced Fancy Pink Diamond Highlighter that I got in BoxyCharm. For setting powder, I used the Terre Mer Translucent Photo Finish Setting Powder. And then just as a spray overall, because my face was looking a little dry, I only use a setting powder under my eyes and across the bridge of my nose where I get really oily. Because my face was looking a little dry, I use this Pearlescence Coconut Water Hydrating Face Mist, which I find just helps the makeup sink in a little bit better. And then on my lips, I used the Burt's Bees tinted lip balm in Red Dahlia. Again, going for fairly fresh. And the eyebrows were the Art Deco eyebrow filler with fibers in the shade 4 to 6B. I love this thing. All right, so that is everything I've used so far to just get the base of my face ready. Today I did not put on eyeshadow primer because I wanted to see how these shadows stick without a primer. Because yesterday I had a really weird creasing thing or blank spot here, and I was wondering if that was because there was no primer on it. So let's test out these shadows on a blank canvas. Well, sort of blank. The eyes are blank at least. So I think I'm going to start off with Kindly in my crease, and then maybe explode on my lid, Monsoon as an outer corner to darken it, and then Ooh La La as a little topper in the middle, and then Opal as an inner corner and underbrow highlight. We're going to go into the shade Kindly here. We're just going to put this all in the crease. It's a little more pink than it looks in the pan. That's kind of interesting. I think it's building nicely. It's definitely not sticking as well without the eyeshadow primer, which makes sense because usually that's what primers are for. But I am able to build it up to get the same color payoff. But I'm thinking as an overall that these definitely perform better with primer. Okay, now that we've deepened our crease, explode all over the lid. That went on really nicely, actually. That packed on quite beautifully. That went on really well too. Okay, we're gonna take that blending brush and just blend that edge between the two of them. That blended really nicely, actually. Now, just on that outer edge, we are going to pack a little bit of Monsoon just to deepen out that outer corner. And true to form, we're just gonna blend out the transition. There we go. Now we're gonna go in with the glitter shade Ooh La La and just tap it a little bit in the middle there. Just gonna use my finger. It's sort of like a mix between a glitter and a shimmer, so hopefully it's not too glittery. Because I'm obsessive about it, I'm just gonna blend a little bit on the edge. It's actually an angled brush, but who cares? We're gonna take it into the shade Opal and just do the inner corner. It didn't work as well as it did the last time, so we're just actually gonna go tidy that up with a finger. And then I'm gonna take the shade, actually I'm gonna take the shade Ballad and do the underneath. Okay, so the camera battery died there, unfortunately, but I just did the underneath with the shade Ballad right here. So there's darker shade there. And then I just went through and I put Opal underneath my brow bone on both sides and just did a few final blending strokes. Then I put on a Burt's Bees Nourishing Eyeliner in Soft Black 1405 and the Art Deco Angel Eyes Mascara just to finish off the eye look. I really like how this turned out. It's very soft and romantic and I quite like it. Now, my issue is that I'm not really seeing a terribly big difference from yesterday's look, even though I used completely different shades. The only shade that was the same was Opal, which I used as an inner corner highlight, which is really, I think, what that shade is meant for, if we're being honest. That shade right there. I'm not too sure how I feel about the fact that it looks very similar. It does look a little different, especially with the sparkle, but I'm not sure how many distinctive eye looks we're going to be able to get out of this thing. So for tomorrow, we're really going to challenge me and see what I can come up with. And let's kind of go a little crazy tomorrow and just play and see what we can do. But for now, this is the eye look. I quite like it, and we will see how it wears throughout the day, because as I said, today I did not put on any eyeshadow primer, so we'll see if it still stays, if it gets muddy, if it wears off, how it does throughout the day, and then of course at the end of the day I will also let you know whether or not it stained my eyelids. So see you later. So I actually had my filming set up all taken down and then remembered that I was supposed to do a check-in. So if this is a little shaky, I'm sorry. I'm literally holding the camera right now instead of my tripod. But this is the eye makeup now. It actually did pretty good. It's a little faded up in here, up in the crease where there was just that light shade, but the dark shades held on pretty well. Surprisingly, the glitter kind of shimmery shade has held on amazingly as well. The under eye color is actually still pretty well there as well. So as much as you need to pack it on a little bit heavier in order to get the pigment payoff when you don't have a primer, it still applies and lasts beautifully throughout the day. They blended a little bit, they're a little bit faded, but they're not bad at all. And it's been about, I want to say 6 or 7 hours since I applied it. So it's been quite a while and it's done really well. So I'm very impressed. I mean, like for instance, my foundation ain't doing that hot and I've had to reapply my lip gloss like 6 or 7 times already. So in comparison, the eye look is bomb. But no, for $5 eyeshadow, this is insane. It is so good. So I'll let you know tomorrow if it stained my eyelids or not, but hopefully it did not, and then we can have our great final look tomorrow. I'll see you then. Bye. Okay, beautiful people, today is the last day of the 3 Looks 1 palette with the Mauves palette. Good, that's the right setup. I just wanted to make sure because I was worried I held it upside down. Anyways, so we've gotten 2 pretty good looks out of it so far. I'm still not entirely sure what I'm going to do for this 3rd look to make it look different because the 2 looks felt extremely similar to me. And I don't know why, because I use completely different shades. I've now actually used every shade in this palette, so I am free to roam and do whatever I want with this last look because there's not a shade that I haven't used. But I don't know what to do to make it look completely different. I might just go with an all matte look maybe. See about that. Maybe we'll go simple with this last look and then just try and make it a very wearable, light, romantic look. Like that's what this palette gives me, and that's what I love about this palette is I get some pretty romantic looks out of it and some pretty normal everyday looks out of it as well. So I like it so far. It has not stained my eyelids. Nothing has stained so far, so that's another bonus. So today on my face, it didn't sit very well, but I'm still using it anyways. I just didn't feel like taking it off and putting something new on my face. So if it looks a little janky, I'm sorry, but it's the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear in the shade 445. I don't know why it's not sitting well. I used a different beauty blender. I used the one that came with the Profusion set, and it's not good. I feel like that's why this looks a little weird. Because with my, what is this one? Elf or Duo or whatever the drugstore one is for these beauty blender type things, makeup sponges, they work really well and they give me a really nice finish. This one kind of was like, meh. So I'm not a huge fan of the finish today, but oh well. So L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear is on as a base. Do I even need to say what concealer I'm using again? The Light Medium Flex Concealer by Milk. I'm literally just trying to use this up, I think, because it's one of the few concealers I have. The blush, I actually stuck with the same one I used yesterday, which is the Art Deco 33A. I find it just works really well with this palette. The color story is kind of similar, so the little romance just thematically felt like it fit. Brows. I really like this thing because it gives a kind of natural-ish brow. It's the Art Deco eyebrow filler with defining fibers in 46B. Highlight again, and I think I'm just using this just to make a point, but it really does go well with romantic looks, and that's why I'm using it a lot, is that these colors here seem to go really well with this highlighter. So it's the Too Faced highlighter in Fancy Pink Diamond that I got in BoxyCharm. I say that specifically every time because I'm not a huge fan of how Too Faced has run their company recently. So I really don't want to be associated with them all that much or give my money to them. So this was from BoxyCharm. And then lastly, on my lips, I just have the Burt's Bees Tinted Lip Balm in Red Dahlia. I know, I pretty much did the exact same thing the last time, but well. Oh, and the finishing powder was Terramare Translucent Photo Finish Setting Powder on the concealer under my eyes. And then just as an overall spray, I did the Coconut Water Pearlescence Hydrating Face Mist. And it usually helps the makeup sink better. I use it when the texture of whatever I apply to my face for foundation is too dry and too like clinging to my texture on my forehead and things like that. So it sort of worked, it sort of helped. It wasn't the best help. Yeah, Anyways, let's move on to the eyeshadows. Let's play with our look for today. A little bit, Ballad hasn't had a huge chance to shine, so I want to use that a little bit more today. Maybe let's do a very like light look. Let's use Kindly as a transition shade, Lovely on the lid, and then Ballad just to darken up the outer corner. Let's try that. Let's try and stick with mattes today. I'm gonna go into this shade here, Kindly. They're very romantic names on this palette too. I just realized that. Probably think I'm silly for just realizing it, but hey, I did literally just realize it. Okay, I did not put any primer on my eyes today, just because I actually think I need a new one. It's starting to smell, so I need to go out and get some new eyeshadow primer. So if you guys have any suggestions, leave them in the comments down below. I do like that while these are pigmented, they're also buildable. Like you can build up the punch, which is kind of nice because it lets you have a little bit more control. So next, I'm going to take this packing brush here and dip it into the shade Lovely. Just tap that all over the lid. That really is, for lack of a better word, a lovely shade. Like, such a gorgeous color. Okay, that is on. I'm just going to take that fluffy brush and just blend where the two meet, just to soften up that line. I like took like 2 swipes and then I was softened. Wow, that stuff blends incredibly, if I haven't mentioned that already. So now I'm gonna take that packing brush, just give it a quick little brush off, and then I'm gonna go into that shade Ballad and just darken up the outer corner. Just kind of pack it on there. I'm also putting it a little bit into the crease as well, just kind of all over that outside edge. We're gonna blend it out in a minute, so don't worry about if it looks a little clumpy. And now we're just gonna take that and just blend out, soften this dark edge a little bit. Now for the underneath, because I'm just keeping this nice and light, I'm just gonna take Lovely and just put it all along the lower lash line. There we go, it is all over the lower lashes. And because at this point it feels like I just cannot resist, I am going to take a shimmer. I lied, I can't help it. They're great inner corner highlights. I'm gonna take Femme though, which is the pinky shade here, instead of Opal, and just put that on my inner corner. This one definitely picks up better on a brush than the other color, Opal, the other shimmery shade. And because I do want an under the brow highlight, I'm just gonna dip into Opal, highlight underneath the brow bone. It doesn't pick up super well on the brush, but it does enough. Now, because I like the softness of this, yet again, I'm going to just tightline. I'm sorry. I like the look of it with stuff that's more romantic. I don't like big winged eyeliners. I like tight lines. So I'm just gonna tightline the top lash line. Then the Angel Eyes Mascara by Art Deco. So I'm beginning to think, as much as I love this mascara, I might have to change it because it's starting to dry out. So I think after this use, it's done. Okay, and that's just the final look for today. It's just very simple, very natural and neutral, which is ironically what I was going for the first time and then got carried away. So we'll just see, this is what I was aiming for that first day, and then I got it today instead because it's just like a lazy Saturday. And so I just wanted to, you know, relax a little bit. Fluffing up my hair a bit to get that kind of relaxed, lazy Saturday vibes going. And so this is the final look. Just very nice, neutral. I'll let you know how it wears throughout the day, and we'll do our final check-in later today, and I'll give you my final thoughts. I'm not gonna do a check-in after I remove all the makeup because at this point I've tried every shade and I know they do not stain. So unless anything changes, the final checkup at the end of the day to see how they turned out after a full day's wear will be the last check-in for this video. So I will see you then. All right, beautiful people, here we are at the end of the day. So it's only been on a little bit, like I want to say 3 or 4 hours this time. I just have gotten sick of wearing makeup today. I don't know if that happens to you guys as well, but it definitely happens to me. But the problem that I'm having is that it's kind of fading. And I don't know if it's because I didn't use a primer, but like I feel like it's just fading off of my eyes. I know I did a fairly subtle look to begin with, but this one just did not really stick. The shimmer on the inside is sticking, and so is the one under the brow bone, but the mattes aren't really staying super great. So that is a little bit of a downside. You definitely have to use a primer more so with the mattes than with the shimmers, but they do stick better on top of a primer. Just something to be aware of, because I remember the last two looks that I did, I had no problems with them fading too much over time. And so I think that if you're going for an all matte look with this palette, you should probably use an eyeshadow primer. Just something to note. Overall though, this palette has been so much fun to play with. I really love all the shades in here. I love the looks I've created. It's a really nice, easy to use palette, at least for me. I can create some pretty romantic, simple looks with this, and I have loved every look that I've made, and it really hasn't given me any problems in terms of blending up until today, in terms of staying. And yeah, I think this is a really great palette, and for $5, this is incredible quality. And you get so much in each pan, like they're enormous. So I would definitely recommend this, and I hope you've liked this 3 looks 1 palette with the Profusion Mauves palette. I will see you next time, beautiful people. If you enjoyed this video, please like the video, subscribe, and leave a comment down below about what kind of makeup you might want to see in the future. Until next time, bye!